Hey everyone, hello, and welcome to this week's edition of the Designer's Den. Today's show is pre-recorded, but I'll be hanging out in chat to answer any questions, comments, remarks, jokes, I don't know, whatever it is that you've got and you want to hang around and provide. So while we're not here, I'll be here and all of that. But without further ado, I want to go ahead and get started and let my amazing guests for today introduce themselves. So, Josh, why don't you tell everyone a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Hey, my name is Josh. I do a lot of things that is my fault and not anyone else's. I
I know how
am.
that goes.
Oh, it's so relatable, isn't it? Someone's like, "Hey, do you want to do this project with me?" And I'm like,
And
"Yeah,
you're like, let me consult my calendar. I've
I
got
can
30
squeeze in."
minutes, 30 minutes on this day, so that'll do, right?
Yeah. I've got 30 minutes at 1:30 a.m. on Tuesday. Does that work for you? Uh, it's such a mood. Yeah. But yeah, I'm a freelance tabletop game designer. I'm a variety streamer on my channel. I've recently adopted the phrase vibes streamer,
Mm-hmm.
where I kind of do something, but we've got like some lo-fi or some jazz or something, and everyone just comes and hangs out. It's a nice time. Maybe you do it to be productive. Maybe you do it because you need just some background noise. But we have a good crew in chat every week. Um, and on top of that, I am also the assistant director of ambassadors at Jasper's Game Day, nonprofit organization that uses tabletop gaming for suicide prevention.
Yeah, and Jasper's is a cause, of course, Fenway and all of the wonderful people, cause near and dear to my heart. So we'll circle back around to that in a little bit. But I want to kind of start the show today by talking a little bit about a project that you were very passionate about, and that it's out in PDF. And if you're patiently waiting on your hardcover book like me, we'll have it in our grubby little paws soon. Soon. That being the Islands of Sina Una.
Yeah. As you mentioned, the PDF is available. You can get that, I think, through the Hit Point Press store. But the book pre-orders are going to be going out soon. Yeah, I had the privilege to help playtest the Islands of Sina Una, which is a Filipino setting, set in kind of the pre-colonial Philippines,
Mm-hmm.
but fictionalized. Written entirely by a Filipino design team, all the artists Filipino. And so what you've got is this phenomenal passion project, where a bunch of people are talking about their culture.
Yes.
I recall seeing when the PDF had first gone out, like a bunch of Filipino people who read the just like the foreword, the very first bit of text in the book, and were already just in tears because this is something so near and dear to them.
Yeah,
Um,
and they should be excited, and this should be because it's so nice to see yourself represented in that.
yeah,
And this is a 5e compatible campaign setting. It's got some player options as well. We're going to get into in a second. But you get to travel through, all of the 7 islands, meet monsters that are kind of native to the mythos of the Philippines, as well as their gods and goddesses. And in the words of as they say for the project, the most important thing that you get to do is interact with the diverse Filipino people, which they are. They're so diverse, and it's very exciting to see all of that, and not only to see it, but to see it so beautifully portrayed.
yeah,
But I want to go ahead and talk about these 2 new classes that they had that you play tested, and we will start with the so that's the Babylon and the Headhunter.
yeah, yeah. I am currently playing the Babylon on a stream over at the Rock Punch ATL channel on Fridays. It's called Tampo. We're using the
Mm-hmm.
Islands of Sina Una supplement. Both the director and the co-director are currently in our cast, so we've got experts like teaching us about the culture as we play. It's phenomenal. So the Babylon fills this kind of unique, I think, niche between where you've got like your cleric, and your druid, which are maybe utility classes, maybe healer classes, depending on how you play them, but have this kind of lived experience with nature, with religion. But the Babylon is intelligence based, which rules is written. You've got your religion intelligence check and your nature intelligence check. So kind of taking a different approach on how you can fill that role in a way that is really super cool, and the way that it fits into the kind of islands of Sina Una world is phenomenal. As Babilons have a spirit guide, an abayan, which is this kind of spirit animal that travels alongside you, and so it acts as your spell casting focus. You can communicate with it. It interacts with the world around you in unique ways because it's not actually physically present. Um, but so the Babylon is kind of this medium between the spirit world and the physical world,
Hmm.
and using that in really cool ways to have this unique flavor of magic through your for lack of maybe a better pre-existing 5e comparison, like a familiar that's spiritual in nature.
And
Um,
that's a term that they've used too. The Abayan, your ethereal familiar with whom you've formed a bond. So
yeah.
I think that's a fair usage. But it's definitely it's more than that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So there are three different sub classes with the Babylon. The first one is the Call of Clairvoyance, which is all about using that spiritual connection to like recall past knowledge, to learn from your ancestors, so to speak, and to have these moments of like recollection where you learn about the world or about what's going on,
Hmm.
which is super cool as you just like become so good at intelligence checks. Um, the Call of Sacrifice is really more about like healing and herbalism, and is kind of like the role of a dedicated healer beyond
Hmm.
what a druid would have, and very different because it's very natural based healing as opposed to a religious based healing in the cleric. Um,
So drawing on all those natural herbal remedies, the poultices, the everything that we've they've learned to use the land.
Yeah, and also channeling, that spiritual power of, hey, like my Abayan is gonna come and like give you a little spectral like forehead kisses, and it's gonna heal you. It's my favorite thing. And then there's the Call of Wrath, which is like, okay, I am gonna become a spiritual like nightmare for you, and I'm gonna fight you. And you're kind of like channeling the wisdom and martial prowess of those who came before you. So super cool class, and adds a feature that I really like. In addition to having your Abayan, which is fun because you can like cast touch spells at 60 feet because it's your spell casting focus. You be like, hey, go over there and do this thing for me.
While I
You
stay
get
back over here.
yeah. No, it's so good because my Babilon is super squishy, and so I'm like 30 feet in the back with just look. I've got a little bird,
Oh,
a southern Philippines dwarven kingfisher. They're a bird that's about this big,
yeah.
like could fit in my mouth, but this vibrant
Don't put it
like
in your mouth.
gold and purple and pink color. So there's just this beautiful bird flying around, like giving people forehead kisses and like do this, do that, and casting magic to that is a blast.
That sounds like a
But
lot of fun.
they've got this really cool feature that they add at third level called Spirit Dice,
Hmm.
where for the Babylon, you can modify your spell casting in a way that's super unique. I think in the same kind of spirit as what you can do with a sorcerer, but
Okay.
a little bit different
So
because you've got a
not
pool.
quite meta magic.
Right, you've got a pool of spirit dice. And so with a spirit die, you could increase the spell save DC.
Mm,
You could uh, perhaps add that to your attack roll if you think you're close to hitting and want to just be sure. Or you can use that to increase your damage. So you've got several options there. And it's just so powerful to be like, I'm going to cast Counterspell. And you know what? I'm going to just chuck 4 spirit dice in there because I don't want this spell to happen.
yeah, that actually kind of, rather than sorcerer, kind of actually makes me think bard a little bit more, and that bard have a
Yeah.
bunch of options for just adding. We're gonna, roll some inspiration dice or whatever.
Yeah.
There,
Yeah.
I was about to say valor dice. That's not a thing.
It could be coming soon to a 5e supplement near you.
Written
Yeah,
by
no, I
someone
think you're
who's
right.
not us.
It's this really cool kind of combination between the bard and the sorcerer mechanics there, and that's a
Yeah.
great point.
Uh,
Um,
and then the other class is the headhunter, which is the name alone is very evocative. So headhunter, you think kind of bounty hunter, mercenary, and
yeah,
not entirely wrong.
no, not entirely. So I had the privilege to help playtest the Headhunter class. So I think it's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
And I like what it does specifically for me as someone who sometimes tends to roll very poorly. Um, uh, the Headhunter class is all about ensuring that your opponent dies.
Yes.
And so it's really about like protection, protecting your people from dangers, from whether that be kind of the primary. For lack of a better word, like antagonists in the islands
Mm-hmm.
are Aswangs. These kind of not necessarily spiritual, but like their bloodline has been cursed. And so there is this great darkness and evil in them as they try to effectively pass along their curse. They're one of the main, I think, types of opponents that you can fight in the islands. It's super new and super original. And to some extent, headhunters are like, hey, like I'm gonna protect my island, my people from dangerous beasts, but Aswangs and all these things. Um,
So the thing that I liked about this class when I first read it, I think on their Indiegogo page,
mhm.
was that not only do they kill people, and they're exceedingly good at that, but they're able to kind of take the knowledge and the skills from the people that they hunt down, and like um, that just makes them that much more of a threat.
Yeah. Yeah, they are lethal. Um, I mean, at early levels, you get the ability to like just seek the spirits and gain knowledge about whoever your target is. So if you're like, I am hunting like this creature or this person, like each morning you've got something called Rite of the Ancestors, which lets you go to your ancestors and be like, where are they?
Mm-hmm.
Can I find them? What are they doing? Like just relentless hunter in that sense. But then you do in fact like learn from again, I think almost as much the spirits and the ancestors who are bestowing you with knowledge. But there's this really cool dynamic where you're basically like built and bred for murder, which is cool. um, and one of the features that I really like, I kind of hinted at this a moment ago. I don't tend to roll great when you make an attack roll with a headhunter. Whether or not you hit, you get something called conviction damage, which is literally just how much do you want this person to die.
A lot, a lot. They are your
Um,
sworn mortal enemy.
and so even if you miss on your attack roll, which happens somewhat regularly, you can still deal a little bit of damage. And it's like just you're gonna die. So hype.
It just give me time.
The equivalent, I think, is like almost like in a horror movie, right? You're just like walking, and it's like that killer who's just walking like determinedly. Like you don't have to actually hit him; just your presence is what kills him.
Yeah. I mean, like you're terrifying them, and they end up getting themselves into scrapes. It's fine. Then you got a little bit of, I guess, plausible deniability. Definitely not a
Yeah,
murderer.
yeah, no, definitely not.
Didn't
None,
touch
none
them.
of that.
But yeah, no. So I like that Sina Una draws so much on like the connection of the people, like communing with your ancestors, things being passed down through families and all of that. Because that's a very big part of their culture is the sense of family,
Yeah, yeah,
and it really just shines through. Like obviously you have options to break with the family and go off and do your own things, but that's, I guess, kind of a choice that
yeah,
you
absolutely.
make.
Uh,
um yeah. So do you have any other thoughts that you want to share on Sina Una before we jump to some of the other stuff that you've worked on? I know we could
um,
talk about this for the whole hour, I know.
that's the problem is I could talk about it for the whole hour. Um, I'll just close by saying I think that in this supplement you can find some of the coolest and most original
Mm.
new additions to 5e um, that we've seen in maybe the last year or so. Just phenomenal stuff. Absolutely terrifying monsters. I love digging into just the bits about each island and the culture and what you can find there. They have little sections, much like you would expect in a setting book, about each city, what you can kind of expect to find in each place, and they give you, to some extent, kind of just a beautiful like taste of what Filipino culture
Mhm.
is like or could be like in that section. So just beautiful writing. Um, it's a phenomenal supplement.
And if you need any more motivation to get it, they've got some new options for pre-existing races, a couple of new backgrounds, new spells, new rules for boat combat. Because everybody wants
Yes,
to know, how do we fight on a boat?
yes,
And of course, a whole host of new magic items. My favorite of which, just by name, the horrific transformative dark hen.
yes.
You got to get it to see what it is.
That's one thing that I won't spoil for you. But yeah, they implement a lot of new monsters. I mentioned the Aswangs earlier. It's this whole kind of category of ne'er do wells. And then there's another like kind of larger power called the Celestial Eaters, which are like kind of the equivalent of like world-ending titans. And so, whether you're looking to make combat just horrifying or maybe really cool with like flying sharks and stuff, there's a little bit of everything.
Yeah, there. I mean, there really is. Um, okay, so um, aside from being a little bit involved with that as a playtester, you've been working on, as you said, a lot of stuff. Um,
Yes. Yeah.
so um, you got a couple of things published on the DM's Guild. You got a game on Itch, and then you have, I believe you said it's like your biggest credit is this. I was gonna supplement. I don't know if it's quite a
It was an
supplement.
adventure
An
module.
adventure. I
Yeah.
I want to call everything a supplement. Uh,
Everything is supplemental if you think about
it's
it.
true. But anyways, this adventure through Mage Hand Press called Dragon Flu Pandemic, which um, came out rather
Yeah.
timely.
It came out about a year ago, which, if you think back in your minds, we were still thinking, hey, like this whole lockdown thing
Be
hopefully
done.
is going to end really soon. But this was kind of a cool project. It came together in a little over a month, which was just this kind of idea like, hey, like the world is going through a tough time right now. We should write something and publish it and then have all the proceeds go to charity. And so we kind of wrote this cathartic feel good adventure where you can as an adventuring party help save the world from this dragon flu, which you need in order to cure it. You need to go find a vial of dragon's tears, and so you get to go and talk to dragons and
make one cry.
you can make them cry, you can make them laugh. Maybe they'll give it to you willingly. The adventure is yours, but
I was kind
yeah.
of chuckling then because as you say cathartic, that's actually what's on the cover of it. It's a cathartic adventure for 7th level characters.
I may have written that.
And really though, like, you know, uh well, some people don't like to bring real world events into, you know, their gaming. Like it's a fun parallel. And
Yeah.
if we can't make light of the pandemic at this point, like what are we going to do?
Yeah. And I think a lot of people go to gaming for escapism. And so in a time where I think a lot of folks, I mean, I know I definitely felt to some extent like helpless and unable to do anything that could actually make a difference or make someone else's life better. I hadn't left my house in weeks at this point, not quite, multiple months yet. It was like, hey, this is something that we can do to provide a tangible difference. And then the ability to go through and play in a game where your actions do actually make a difference.
You can actually
you can save the
stop
world.
The pandemic, yeah.
Yeah.
And all proceeds from that module go to Feeding America, which is an amazing charity. Food banks are near and dear to my heart. My big charity I do every year. It's not Feeding America, but Second Harvest. So you can still pick that up and donate to Feeding America through that. People always need to eat.
It's one of those just universal things. Like
everyone deserves to eat.
Yeah.
So, oh yeah, like that was a pretty interesting thing. So, when you sit down to do your design work generally, like, and this is kind of the question that I ask everyone, like, where do you start? Whether you be doing, adventure designing, subclasses or whatnot. Do you start with like, you got a theme in mind, which was obviously the case for this adventure.
Right. Yeah. That one was very much like, hey, I've got an idea for, I think, a story that we could tell that would be uniquely situated to impact people right now where we are. A lot of the time when I'm writing, especially when it comes to like, new spells or subclasses or things like that, it's really, I would like to play something like this. This sounds like a blast, and I don't see it anywhere else, so I'm gonna sit down and write it. So to some extent, like if we talk about the subclasses I have out, I've got two kind of for lack of a better word, like physical fitness themed classes. I've got I've got the Flex Caster Barbarian, where you're just so strong that it's magical.
I must ask here.
Yeah.
Did you watch Doom Patrol?
I can honestly say that I have not.
Okay, you won't get the joke then. But if you do watch the
make the joke anyways. I may not get it, but someone else might.
Yeah. So there's a character in the second season of it, and his name is Flex something or other. I can't remember his last name. But anyways, like depending on like what muscle he flexes, like it does magic.
Oh,
he has to think about like a very certain muscle and flex it. Yeah. So like literally, so he casts magic by flexing.
That's phenomenal. I didn't even know I was pulling inspiration from that, but I did. But like I just had this idea, like we, to some extent, like, honestly, I think I think I like went back in my memory and pulled that really old like Old Spice ad where they've got I think it might have been Terry Crews who's like each of his muscle groups is like hooked up to a different instrument, so he's like playing an instrument by like flexing different muscles or something like that. And I was like, that'd be really cool. How do I do this? And so I yeah, just ideas basically like you are magically strong. Have
Yeah.
fun. And then same thing with the bard subclass. Um, More about like just being really like a physical fitness instructor there, kind of amping up the team, getting everyone else um, in peak physical condition. And I've got some fun spells in there, but like some of them are like a little bit silly because that's just how that entire design process went. I was like, what if I just made like a calisthenics spell because calisthenics is good for you, right? Like,
Yeah. Everyone
um,
says that allegedly. Yeah.
I've heard that. I've heard that somewhere. I couldn't tell you where. But so like, yeah, my design process is a little haphazard if we're being perfectly honest. Like I've got an idea and I just kind of run with it and then, I'll like sit on it for a month because I've gotten another idea and I've run with that. And then I come back and I'm like, "Oh, hey, this wasn't bad. Let me check this out and finish it." I'm the worst at that. I am so bad at that.
You have a folder full of folders of works in progress.
Okay, don't call me out.
No, I'm
um,
that was me. That was me. But
I do.
the important thing to note there is that it was organized. Everyone, okay?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I've got a folder, and inside that folder, I've got, a folder for subclasses. I've got a folder for monster stat blocks. Got a folder for spells. Got a folder for magic items. Got a folder for NPC names.
Locations.
I legitimately had the thought this morning, as I was like just lying in bed, going like, okay, what do I got to do today? I was thinking, what if I just took all of my unfinished supplements and slapped them together and just wrote like, the supplement of unfinished supplements. And it's just like, here's 5 NPC tables with nothing associated with them because I never finished the thing that they were supposed to go with. And here's 5 monster stat blocks because I meant to finish a monster supplement and just haven't finished it yet.
The melting pot of supplements.
Yeah, just a little bit of everything. Like, you want one city? I've got one city.
It's not fully fleshed out, but I got one.
I've got 3/4 of a city. Yeah. So I've got a bunch of stuff in the works. It'll all make its way to a completed stage eventually. I am very excited actually about two things that I've written recently that I'm in the process of getting to the final cleaning and publishing point.
Ooh, okay.
Both of these were designed. I do this thing sometimes where I'll just like toss up a stream. I'll be like, "Hey, I want to do some game design." And then while I'm working on stream, folks will come in and chat, give these great ideas. We'll just talk about like just design, whatever for a while. And so the first time I did this, we wrote like 7 or 8 stat blocks that are all kind of themed around these unique oozes or gelatinous cube type monsters.
Oozes. Oh, I
Yeah,
love oozes.
yeah, so some of them are a little goofy. I wrote like an Oozix cube, which is just this kind of colorful gelatinous cube type creature that does different
Rearranges.
kinds of elemental damage based on what side is facing you. But like things like that, and then to top that, I also wrote like a ooze themed playable race, which is I'm kind of in the final stages of fine tuning.
What are your feelings on the Ooze Master? Are you familiar with that creature?
On the Ooze Master.
Yeah.
Hold up, what's that in?
Dead and Fey.
Didn't they? Okay, I haven't actually looked at that stat block before. I'm gonna have to check that out.
It is it's an
Hold
interesting
up.
creature. I dropped one of them in my Dreams of the Red Wizards adventure,
Okay.
and there were also just a bunch of oozes,
Yeah.
gelatinous cubes of varying sizes around, and they don't move fast. They just keep seeing them, and everyone's petrified. And then they stumble upon the Ooze Master, and they're just like, you know,
Hmm.
no, you
I
know,
like this.
yeah, I did too.
I like that a lot. Yeah.
It's a
I
fan experiment gone wrong. If anybody needs to know anything about it, that's the
love that.
main point.
I love that. Okay. Yeah, no, yes, excellent. Very good. I'm like reading this as I go, like, wow, that's phenomenal. Yeah, I kind of in a similar vein, although a much like lower level opponent, had the idea to do like, what if I had like an ooze farmer? Like just
Oh,
some like dude in a straw hat. She's just like, I'm taking care of oozes. And so that is one of the other stat blocks that I put in there. And of course, naturally you got like your resistance to your acid damage and
mm-hmm.
whatnot, but he's just this little sweet guy who is just there to take care of all of his gelatinous cubes. He's got a little farm of them and raises them and feeds them slop every day or something. I don't know.
I wish I had the artwork that Mott Crook did for um, something Alan Patrick wrote. I'm not going to name it in case anyone hasn't played it,
Sure, sure.
so they're surprised. But it's a jumping gelatinous cube.
Ooh, ooh, that's cool.
Uh, I,
Um,
I will admit, when I played the adventure, it was in its little pool to start with,
mhm.
and I just jumped into it because I thought it was water.
Nice. Yeah, that's one of the things that I love about oozes in general is they to some extent are like the less immediately suspicious mimic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because they kind of just blend in with their surroundings based on what you're dealing with. They look like water, they look like a grease spill, and you're like, whatever, walking around in these caves, and then suddenly you just like
Yeah, or even when it's, in a cube form, gelatinous cube, like people are like just running around and like you just grab a room as being impeccably clean and they're like, okay, cool, 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 walk into it. Bam, you're in the cube.
welcome to the cube.
Welcome to the dungeon Roomba.
I love it. Yeah, so no, oozes are one of my favorite just
Yes.
kind of categories of monsters
Hmm.
because they're super versatile.
Yeah, you can really just squeeze one in wherever.
That was good. That was good. But especially once you start like tossing in like oblexes and stuff, like there's a lot of versatility.
Hmm.
You've got so many options, and they can really fit anywhere, which I love.
Yeah, and honestly, like literally anywhere. Kind of unlikely to be in a desert environment, but could be.
Fair point. Fair point.
But
Unless you had like an Oasis mimic, right? Just idea that I don't know if that exists. Just the word just
write it,
came to
yeah,
me.
write it down now. It's a
Oasis
thing.
mimic with a like symbiotic relationship with like a little like ooze that's like the water in the Oasis mimic. It
Yeah,
just came to my
it's
mind
just
right
like
now.
you're crossing the Anorak Desert and you're dying of thirst and you've somehow gotten lost and you see this oasis and you wander in to get a drink and there's this kindly old woman there. Oh, you look like you need a drink. And then before you know it, somehow you're dead.
Yep. That idea is fair game. If anyone wants to write that, be my guest. Send it to me, please.
We don't have
Uh,
time. You write it.
please send that one to me. Yeah, yeah.
uh,
Yeah, so that's something I'm excited about. I've started to get art back for that, and it is just my whole goal with that ooze based race. I've called it the oozling. Is I just want it to
uh,
be the cutest, cuddliest thing. So super excited about that.
I love
Um,
anything that's like a little, oozling, gnomeling,
I know.
mind flayerling.
Yeah, anything that's got a ling at the end is baby and it's cute and you must protect.
The little, what is the little gnome ceramorph?
Yeah.
I'm like, he's gonna kill you. I don't care. I need him.
That's fine. Like if I die from being too protective of cute things, that is a personal failing I'm okay with.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's pretty much it. Like, do you want to kill my characters? Put something seemingly cute but
yep.
deadly in front of it.
Yep.
Oh,
Absolutely.
I'm so excited. I am working on a project with extremely cute things, and I wish I could talk more about it.
One day. One day.
Soon.
Yes. But then the other thing that I recently was writing, again on stream, doing the same thing, was this rope dart themed monk subclass.
Okay.
So,
So
uh,
throwing some darts.
yeah, well, so I had put a kind of a, for lack of a better word, like a call out on Twitter, and I was like, hey, like, what are, weapons that you would like to see in 5e that don't currently exist? And had a bunch of responses. Some people were like, give me a gun, or like, give me a
No.
flamethrower. And I was like, yeah, that's a little too much. That's a little too much. But
Okay, first off, there are guns in 5e already. You could just go get one, head into Barovia or Ravenloft or wherever.
true,
Um,
true.
I think they're even in Saltmarsh. Um,
That sounds right.
they're
But like,
just
there's some options out there.
not really in the realms.
Right.
Fine.
But some answer that I did see pretty
Darts.
consistently was rope darts, which is this kind of small, like probably less than a pound, kind of metal object affixed to the end of a long rope.
Mhm.
And so you're using like momentum as you're swinging it around, like twirling it around your body, using it almost more as a utility weapon to grapple, to trip someone, but can also deal a bunch of damage because you're slinging that thing around and you launch it at someone. It's got, you know, I can't do math that fast, but geometry amounts of speed and force flying right at you. Like that's gonna hurt.
That
Um,
incredible velocity. There we go.
that's the word. Look, I am not good at math, nor am I an engineer. So none of that is my wheelhouse
I
whatsoever.
gotcha. I gotcha. We're
Thank you.
good.
Thank you. So wrote this monk subclass based off of that. And my favorite thing about that was we were like just watching like videos of people using a rope dart as we were writing it. And we'd go like, oh, that's a really cool move. How do we turn that into like a feature? And just we're watching these videos on stream, had a bunch of folks were like, "Hey, wouldn't it be really ridiculous if you could like tie someone up with the rope and then like pull it and like toss them off balance?" And so we wrote an ability where you spend some key points, you tie them up and then you pull and it like spins them around like a top and knocks them over. Like just like, let's be silly, but let's also kind of like add these cool things that would
Yeah.
be neat if they existed and aren't currently there. So
And now you've got me like we gotta add more darts and different kinds of darts. We have a
yeah,
whole society of monks that kills with lawn darts. Those have been outlawed after all.
absolutely. We need to find some way to incorporate lawn darts.
Yeah. Uh,
Yeah.
Anyone, if you've had an experience with the Deathly Lawn Dart, let us know because I don't really know what it actually is like.
Yeah, we could use some research for that. If anyone wants to volunteer to be a researcher for lawn dart deaths, let us know.
Yeah. I mean, and various other kinds of darts. There's like, I mean, like poison darts.
Yeah,
Those aren't really a big thing. Why
not
not?
really. I mean,
Should be.
poison mechanics. There's a little bit in there, but maybe you could build out like a table of poison mechanics to go with your lawn darts. It's possible.
Poison lawn darts. What have we gotten started here? Yeah. No, I mean, that sounds great. And I kind of like this idea of what you're doing in your stream, kind of like a fly by the seat of your pants design dash type thing. And I think it's honestly a great way for people to work on creative stuff. Like, as I'll tell anyone, your best resource is the community.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I was always like in school, like especially in college, when I had a paper to write, I would go and I would like camp out at a table in the library in like the front public area or like in like the coffee shop. And I would always try to like get a friend or two to come hang out with me so that I wasn't
Mhm.
just sitting there like, beating my head against the books or against the keyboard all by myself, right? I've got some people to like just bounce ideas off of her. Hey, if I say this, does it make sense, right? Does my point come across clearly? because I think collaboration is important. And when you can work in an environment where you just have other people around, I'm much more productive. And maybe that is the same for others as well.
I know, and I agree. Like, I was an engineering student,
Hey, nice.
and you know, we would get homework problems where like we'd have the problem and they'd give us the answer, right? And
Mhm.
so like we're trying to figure out all the variables that we need to account for to like, you know, terminal velocity, force, lift, thrust, drag, all of that, and we'd have like a group of people, and we're like, we're missing something.
Right, right.
And you know, the for lack of a better word, like you know, the hive mind, you put it all together, and like, you know, two heads are better than one often.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
generally it was drag. It was always drag.
Look,
But
drag is great, but sometimes it's also a drag.
it really brings you down.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's true.
Um, yeah. So you are the assistant director for the ambassadors for Jasper's Game Day.
Yeah.
So, what exactly, for anyone who's not familiar, what do the ambassadors for Jasper's Game Day even do?
Yeah. Our so that's there's probably two parts to the answer to this question. And the first part is that this is literally the first year that our ambassador program has existed. So
We're
we're kind of
figuring it out.
we're kind of building the plane while it's in the air, so to speak. Which I would not recommend to anyone who's like, oh, I want to get into engineering and I want to build airplanes. Like, just build it before you take off, just as a general principle. But when you're doing something that doesn't, isn't a life or death matter, you can build it in the air, and that's
Yeah.
fine. So we kind of launched this and realized very quickly that having a number of people who are kind of representing the brand of Jasper's Game Day, really kind of trying to serve as just like um, people who are willing to say like, hey, like it's okay that you're going through a tough time.
Mhm.
It's okay that you're struggling. You're not alone, right? The primary objective is really just to be a place on stream, in other places online where folks can go if they're having a hard time with things. We're not like licensed counselors. We can't talk you through it, but at least you've got someone else that
It's a support
can
network,
listen.
right?
Exactly.
It's someone that you know you have stuff in common with, like, oh, this is another gamer. They understand some of my, you know, my social, issues right now is that I can't go game in person. They
Yeah.
feel it. They know.
Yep.
Just someone that you can connect with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think that's
So there's definitely a social piece to it where it's just like trying to create a space that's welcoming, that's going to be a place for someone to go if they're having a rough night or having a bad day and need just to not be all by themselves. There's a stream that they can turn on that's got someone who's reminding them that, hey, you know what, like you're doing fine. Things might not be where you want them to be right now, but it'll get better. You're not alone. But I think the second piece to the ambassador program is really trying to go beyond, our once or twice a year Jasper's fundraising events to just be more present in the community. Because, if you just think about something once a year or twice a year, during that time when you're not thinking about it, you might forget, like, hey, there are other
true.
people who are here to support me. And so that's really kind of our objective, is just like be present so that folks know that, like,
Yeah.
hey, if you're going through a hard time, that's okay. We're going to get through this together.
I'm kind of laughing a little bit internally at the thought that they were only doing this once or twice a year before, when like um Fenway has pretty much never done anything by halves.
Oh no.
Even before they were doing like massive streaming things for a week, raising over $100,000, Fenway and her dad, Fenway and her plus one Aaron, they were out. They were touring the country. They were
Oh
doing
yeah.
so many shows, any little show. I had the pleasure of having them down to Atlanta to be our charity of choice for the RPG Hall for MomoCon one year,
Mm.
and like they would go all over the country and do that. I'm like, they're like, what do you need me to do? And I'm like, sit at a table and explain to people
Yep.
what it's about.
Yep.
Do I need to
That's
pay for
all
the
it is
table?
sometimes.
No, no, you don't need to pay for the table.
You're good.
We're gonna give money to you.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, no, Jasper's is a wonderful charity, and they just wrapped their week long Jasper's game day, and I'm sure you are tired.
I was fortunate where a lot of what my involvement was with Jasper's Game Week was either ahead of the week or early on in the week. So I actually am okay now because I've had a little bit of time since then. I'm sure that some of the crew that was super involved during the week of and towards the tail end are probably still recovering a little bit. But yeah, that's the nice thing about not being like point of contact game day staff. I'm a little bit more in like the PR realm, I feel like.
I don't understand. Not being point of contact game day staff, how does that work?
So basically you just don't look at your messages.
I don't understand. I went straight from the Mayday's 10-day charity con into Jasper's Game Week.
Oh, good lord.
Into Virtual Weekend, which supported Jasper's Game Week, into moving all my stuff out of my condo.
So do we need to just like call it here and you can go take a nap? Like we could just take the rest of our scheduled time and you could nap?
No. I'm going to take a very nice long rest later.
Good. That's important. That's important.
Yeah, but it has been a month, and Jasper's has done very well. And so kind of one of the interesting things that I like to point out to people about Jasper's is like, so their main thing is suicide prevention, especially in youth, right? But if Jasper's comes to your con in your town to set up, they support your town's local branch that works with suicide prevention. So like wherever you are, having them come in helps your community.
Yeah.
And like that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, we partner with kind of a national network of local suicide prevention organizations so that we're actually making a difference where the folks that we work with reside. That's one of the things about like, big charities is sometimes, you could raise $100,000 and it'll all go towards some place that you've never actually been.
Seattle Children's Hospital, which I'm sure is great, and they need
it.
I always think of that one because that's like when you donate to the big Wizards Extra Life, it goes to Seattle's Children's Hospital. So, Seattle's Children's Hospital has tons of funds, and that's great. It's good because they do a lot of good work.
Absolutely.
But it's always like, I have a children's hospital here too.
Yeah, like what about the Lurie Chicago Children's Hospital? I mean, like,
which is fantastic.
There are kids here too.
I did not know you were in Chicago.
Yeah, it's a shame that I'm moving away from Chicago right now. But yeah,
that's where I just packed up my condo at.
Nice. But yeah, no, I have been in the Chicago area for about 10 years now, but
no, I love Chicago, beautiful, and Lurie Children's Hospital is also great. I went there. There was some temporary rearranging of where stuff was because they were doing a bunch of stuff with all the hospitals there, so I ended up going for a mammogram at the Children's Hospital.
Look, that's fair. So yeah, I used to work in healthcare actually, and so I was always very excited to be involved with anything healthcare related, specifically stuff that supported Lurie's because I have some friends who were nurses over there for a while.
Yeah, I mean, likewise. I'm currently in healthcare IT, but I grew up near Memphis, so like St. Jude. So it's always been like hospitals, food banks, and homeless shelters.
Yeah, I love that.
Gotta hit the top 3. Okay, well, we're getting closer to the end of the hour, so I want to go to the question that I love to hear from people. Like, if you could work on any project, you could work with anybody, you have all of the budget, you have all of the time. What's your dream project like? I know. Yeah.
That is a good question.
And a lot of times, like, it changes. I mean...
Yeah. I think
You can answer it in
Yeah.
pieces. Like
My
I would dream to work with this person,
yeah.
but
My honest answer to that question isn't that I would want to work on a single project so much as I would like to start um, a company that does both, kind of the design production piece for game books supplements, but also focuses on then taking those and creating streams with them. Because I think
I mean that
um,
is a project.
that it is a project. It's let's take a company where I can take all of the phenomenal people that I see
Mhm.
working their tails off day in and day out in the tabletop world, making not great wages. And I would like to just hire them all to do all the exact same stuff, but for better wages
And benefits.
and benefits. Yes. That is my dream. If money were not an issue, I would start
You know,
a production company.
I think I think that might be the best answer that I've heard yet. Not that everyone else's was bad, by the way.
No,
Everyone else's
everyone else, you
was great.
suck.
Everyone else's was great. But when you get two people who don't know how to say no, we don't understand like not letting scope creep happen. So the scope of our project has gotten real big.
Yeah, my project is to give everyone else projects.
And honestly, that's I mean, that's great, and that's what we really need more of in this industry is people giving others opportunities, and we already have a lot of that, right?
Oh yeah.
Collaborative projects. I mean, they're not just like the hot thing to do, but like it's the best way to grow a network, the best way to make a good product because you kind of need that second voice being like, this sounds kind of dumb. Do we want to reword this?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, uh there's so many times where I've like written something and then send it over to someone else and be like, why did you like phrase that this way? It doesn't make sense. I'll be like, what do you mean? It makes perfect sense. And I read it again, like, oh, maybe it
You're
doesn't.
like,
I don't
oh
know.
yeah, no,
That's right. That's just how my brain works.
it makes
It's not
sense
quite
when
the
it's said.
same.
Yep,
Yeah.
definitely on the editor side, I've gotten stuff from people, and I'm like, send back like the section highlighted in yellow. Can you explain to me what you mean so that I can edit it?
Yeah. Like I don't even know what you're saying. I get that.
I know
Yeah.
some of these words.
Like
But yeah,
individually, each word has meaning. What do they mean together?
and then you get the also the. I don't know if you meant to infer these horrible things, and they're like,
Yep.
oh God,
Yep.
I see
Yep.
now. No.
Yep. It's yeah. Yeah, it's gotta be careful with your words, y'all. But yeah, no, and like seeing people get fair pay and paid not just enough to get by, but like enough to like go take a vacation, take a week off, like maybe spend some time with your family or something. Like
Yeah,
that is what I would like to see us as an industry move towards. And so that is my dream
I
project is to
yeah.
pay people more.
I am, super into that, and I think we're having a lot of good discussions in the community about pay rates. And
Yeah.
by the time we're watching this, everybody, you should be able to backtrack to Jeff Talks RPGs from last month, um, where Jeff's talking about all kinds of industry pay rate conversations with Chaos and Anthony Joyce, I think. I've already forgotten the guest list.
That's fair. That's okay.
But it's going to be a great conversation, and I think that's a
Mhm.
conversation that we need to keep having to make companies understand. And I mean, and honestly, we're having in a broader sense of the economy right now that
Oh
like
yeah.
you want people, pay them.
Yeah, it's crucial. And one of the big things that I think is keeping so many folks from being able to like do this full time is the fact that it just at this point in time doesn't pay well if you're not willing to work ridiculous hours and or not take a vacation. And I would love to see people be able to do this. Like if this is where your heart is, I want to see you succeed in that.
Yes.
I like there is nothing more exciting than seeing someone do something they're passionate about and be able to get paid doing it. And I would love to see more folks get into the industry it's just a matter of making it happen. And I think this pay conversation that has been taking place for a while is a huge piece to that.
Yeah, and if you're someone looking to break into the industry, like by all means, um, do it. Like
Yeah.
write something, publish it. That's the first step. Then read it back and realize how much you hate that first thing you wrote, and then write a new thing.
Right. Yeah.
Your first
But
your first thing's not going to be great. I'm sorry, everybody.
my first thing was awful.
My first thing is hot garbage.
I kid you not, the first thing I ever wrote was a dungeon crawl. And like, I've got this nasty ass Word document. It's like, I literally can't look at it right now because I cannot believe that I thought that this was like good writing or good formatting. And it's out there. It's on the DMs Guild. You can get it for free for $0.00 because I literally cannot ask people to pay money for it.
Mine still costs money because there were other people involved in the project and they still deserve to be paid.
That's fair.
I donate what I get from it to charity. I tried to do a mystery.
Okay.
I don't recommend that. First go.
I think a good place to start is like, here is an adventure where you go and you fight the dragon.
But not like, here's an adventure and you start and there's a fully grown adult blue dragon.
Unless it's written for like 10th level. I mean,
at
like
level 1. No, at level 1. Okay.
Sure. Well, okay.
That book does exist already, so there's no need to.
It does exist. It was a good one. I actually remember the first time I played Horde of the Dragon Queen. I had a level 1 barbarian and I tried to 1v1 that dragon until my DM was like, you just can't. Like, I won't let you do this.
I shot a firebolt at it.
Nice.
My DM was just like, Jit. And I'm like, you said it was 100 feet away.
Yeah. My range, more than 100 feet.
If you didn't want me to shoot it, put it 300 feet away.
You're right. Yeah.
And with that, I think that's a great spot to kind of call it. So we're at the end of our hour. So do you have anything that you want to give a last promotion to that people should go check out? Otherwise, where can people find you online to do this design stuff and just hang out and maybe play some games with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of promoting stuff, I'll just promote Tampo. We take place every Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern time on the Rock Punch ATL Twitch channel. Like I was mentioning before when we were talking about the Islands of Sina Una, we've got both the director and the co-director of the project involved in that stream. So we've got people who know the culture they're talking about, kind of guiding us through this world. And it's an absolute delight. This season, I am playing a little Babilon halfling or gnome rather, and he's just this cute little guy. He's this old man who's like, I'm just here to save the world, and I'm okay with that. We're having an absolute delight. But so come and join us for that. Come experience the world of Sina Una for yourself. Beyond that, you can find me on pretty much every social media platform at Joshua M. Simons, or on Twitch at Joshua Simons. Someone stole the M. I can't seem to find it. If you do find it, please let me know so I can get it back. Yeah, that's me. I'm all over the place. I chat about game design on Twitter. I chat about it on Twitch. I've even got a Patreon, which is kind of still, under construction, but is a place where I'm trying to like give ideas to new DMs and just kind of help folks kind of figure out what they're trying to do in the tabletop world.
Yeah. Well, I think that's great, and definitely everyone look Josh up on social media. Give him a follow. You can find the Designer's Den, of course, here every Sunday at 4 p.m. Central. Next Sunday, we're gonna have Steve Pankatai and I airing as part of Dungeon Con.
Very cool.
It's just going to be the regular show, but we're going to be part of Dungeon Con. We're excited.
Nice.
And so definitely stop by, check that out. Got some additional guests lined up that are pretty great as well. Kat Evans, Latia Jaquise, and Steven Garcia, Chris Bissett, and then I am scheduling out the rest of July. And I've at this point given up on finding the mystery person who told me they wanted June 27th and didn't send me their email.
Oh no.
So if we've gotten to the point where you're seeing this recording, I've already booked over you. I'm sorry. With that, you can find me on all the social medias, of course, at Jenny Loveday, and you can find me here on Twitch on Sundays, some Sunday nights for the Baldwin HQ, some Monday nights for the Herald's Guild office hours, and at various other times for various other things. I think that covers it all.
Do it.
Yeah. So with that, that's gonna be it for this episode of the Designer's Den. So until next time, everyone. Bye.